If you have tried to lose weight in the past, you have heard the saying, calories in, calories out. It is claimed that this is the law that determines our obesity or lack thereof. Only through caloric restriction and exercise, they would say, can we upset the balance that keeps us at our current body weight. Some even claim that intermittent fasting works by a mechanism based on caloric restriction. But is this true? Out of my own personal experience, I can tell you that caloric restriction may work for several weeks at the most. Eventually, you will succumb to your need to satisfy your cravings, mainly for carbohydrates. In fact, if you're able to restrict your caloric intake and do daily intense workouts, your metabolic rate decreases. Eventually, you will find it harder and harder to maintain your ideal weight. This is the story of the contestants of The Biggest Loser television show. Caloric restriction is simply not sustainable. Ironically, early research in rodents showed that caloric restriction reduced body weight and increased longevity. These conclusions were later shown to be flawed. You see, rodents received a caloric restriction diet, but it was supplied by the animal handlers only once a day. As a veterinarian, I know that this is to be expected. Normally, rodents are supplied more than enough to eat all day long. With a limited diet, the rodents quickly consume their diet in a short period of time. Thus, the animals set themselves for a long period of fasting thereafter. Essentially, they were in a self-imposed OMAD regimen, or at least a time-restricted feeding. I recently went to a doctor, and my first order of business was to announce that I ate OMAD every day of my life. Naturally, I expected a negative reaction. To my surprise, the doctor replied, No, caloric restriction is great for longevity. He went on to say that he was too lazy to do OMAD and exercise, so he was taking metformin instead. I just about fell off my chair. On one hand, the doctor erroneously believed that caloric restriction is a route to the benefits of fasting. On the other, he felt that a drug would give him longevity without exercise. A drug will always produce secondary effects, especially if you use it continuously for weeks, months, or even years. Using metformin as a substitute for proper diet and exercise every day of your life is downright dangerous. The reason OMAD works as a weight loss regimen is centered on the limitation of insulin secretion. With OMAD, insulin spikes only a single time in a 24-hour period. Insulin spikes mainly with the absorption of carbohydrates, and regardless of the number of calories consumed. Since insulin is the energy storage hormone, limiting its production also limits its long-term effects. We do need insulin to store energy as body fat to survive long periods of scarcity. In today's Western society, the problem is food abundance, not scarcity. In addition, OMAD will convert our metabolism from a glucose-based into a ketone-based metabolism. Does it make sense to combine OMAD with caloric restriction for more rapid results? No, this would be a mistake, simply because caloric restriction is not sustainable. You'd be fighting your cravings every moment of the day. Our goal with OMAD is to mobilize our body fat while maintaining our metabolic rate high. Besides, with OMAD, you will soon see that your body will become keto adapted. Thus, your body will give you energy from your fat stores. You will be able to do your exercise routines for longer, and then you will become stronger and leaner. In a ketogenic or carnivore diet, you know that your cravings for sweets and other carbohydrates is a problem. The cravings will eventually limit your adherence to those regimes. The impact of micronutrients on your weight loss is not going to be dependent on the number of calories they contain. In fact, fats contain more calories per gram than do carbohydrates or proteins. But it is the carbohydrates that have the highest insulinogenic effect. But with OMAD, you will have a better control over the addiction to sweets. You may have carbohydrates in your one meal without resulting in cravings or addiction.
If you hear somebody say that the benefits of OMAD come from caloric restriction, tell them that it isn't so. Tell them that you eat to satiety in your one meal, and tell them that you do not crave food except for the one time a day. Tell them that you eat sweets as part of your one meal. And that's how you would know that you can have the cake and eat it too, and that life is looking up. Thank you.